first instrument which I want to show for you is dissecting forceps. Dissecting forceps, I specially put three main constructional types of dissecting forceps. Now please look in these two instruments. What can you see here and what the difference? And here only the grooves. Remember please, instrument with the grooves we call anatomical dissecting forceps. Instrument with the tooth we call surgical dissecting forceps. First of all, how I hold this instrument. I am right-handed person. Let's say if in my right hand I have scalpel, of course I will take in left hand the dissecting forceps. If I will work without scalpel, for example, after opening of the wound, yeah, I just once will take this instrument in my right hand, yeah, if I will do only something with this instrument. You can see that I hold it in the pen gripping position, yeah. In that position, it's very comfortable to fix the structures, to lift the structures, to push the structures. It's anything which has helped me for fixation, for vision, for opening of any structure. More of this. I can use this instrument, for example, for fixation of the tissues and to give the tension for tissues for better incision. Yeah, if it is necessary, for example, there are natural folds, yeah, and of course, if you understand that in fold it's not so easy to cut. Let's say I will apply, I just will open, for example, and between the branches of instrument will be the tension. I will tense the skin, yeah, I will straight all the grooves which I have here, and between the branches can make incisions. Or, for example, there are the margin which I must to lift, again to give the tension for the tissues, and again to make the incision. Sometimes, if it is necessary, it's possible to have two dissecting forceps. For example, my assistant by two dissecting forceps will touch some structure, will tense some structure, and I will make incision, or vice versa. Let's say, remember, please, very, very useful instrument. One more type of dissecting forceps I can show for you. It is the spoon type of dissecting forceps. And you can see a lot of tooths in the margin. It's a sharp instrument. My friend, we use it for only in pathological practice. We take the material for laboratory investigation, usually the biopsy, the buffer biopsy. Let's say, remember, please, this is the tool for taking of the biopsy for another investigation. Let's say, usually we don't work with alive structures by this instrument. Only with removed structures, or only non-alive structures, only necrotical structures I can apply by this instrument. Yes? So remember, please. Let's say dissecting forceps. Remember, you will use it. It is very widely useful instrument. No, dear, close the door. I'm happy that you meet the dean. Go and continue your meeting, dear. Goodbye. Now let's continue. Okay? This is the hooks. Generally, all hooks we can call retractors, or we can call the enlargers of the wounds. Yeah, and this is the most simple type of the hook. We call it the Farabev hook. Again, Farabev, like this instrument also. By the way, the Farabev hook can be in three different sizes: small, middle, and big. It is exactly the middle size of the Farabev hook. What can you see? The simple wire, yeah, and two ends, and if you will look attentively, you will see that they go to inside. The tips of these two hooks, yeah, look to inside, look to each other. One is short, by the way, second is big, little bit bigger, yeah? What can I do by these structures? For example, I make the incision, and now I will reach the deep structures. I hold the instrument, look please, I put it in my forefingers, fifth one I put in the opposite side, yeah? Perpendicularly I put it in the margins and I retract. Usually we start it from the opposite margins and only after come to the margins which is less wide to not damage the structures which is, let's say from here we'll come to here and make the enlargement. Then I go to more deep structures. I can change the side, yeah, and I can use the more long ends, yeah, for better gripping. But what is important to remember, guys, remember forever, the hooks, tip of which look to each other, or we can say look to inside, it is only for walls. It's not for inner organs. If I will hold your hand, please. If I will apply this kind of the hook in inner organ, tip will be inclinated inside of the tissue and will damage it. So remember forever. For example, you take the hook, doesn't matter which one, and you will see that the margin look to inside, yeah? It means this is the hook for walls, not for inner structures. But for example, compare it with this instrument. You can see that vice versa, yeah? It looks to outside, nothing is looked to inside. Let's say this is an instrument which can be used for inner structures. Exactly, this is the small liver mirror. We have a big liver mirror. This one is small. Let's say, remember please, to apply instrument in the inner organ, it must to have the rather big surface to decrease the pressure, and the margins will look to outside. If the margins will look to inside, you will damage everything. Let's say, remember please, the liver mirror, usually we use the big, it is the pediatrical one for the child, yeah? There are the big, which we use for the adults. Let's say, remember please. This hook we call the fridge hook. The fridge hook, it has the parts for your fingers. It is necessary for better gripping. Yeah, fridge hook is used, my friends, to enlarge intercostal spaces. It is very traumatical instrument. Even we don't apply it in the soft tissues of the wall, only in the bones. It gives the great gripping, yeah, because it's very curved. Yeah, it gives the good gripping, and by the force, you enlarge the apertures, yeah, in thorax region. Why it is necessary? My friends, don't forget that by the age, our bones of thorax become two bones, yeah, the cartilages, calcification, thank you very much. For children, it's not so hard to enlarge intercostal space. But for adults, it's hard, and sometimes, even it's so hard sometimes that we prefer to make resection of the ribs. So remember, please, this is hard, big instrument, yeah, which we call fridge hook. Fridge. My friends, big group of tooth, by the tooths, hooks with the tooths, yeah. What can I say? From one hook, for example, this one, it is also hook, but it is included in the fourth group, little after I will say. It is single, sharp, yeah? It is double, sharp hook. It has 3 tooths. By the way, you can see small. Up to 7 tooths we can have in one hook. By the way, tips can be sharp or blunt. Sharp or blunt. Of course, the sharp one gives the great gripping, but it is very traumatical. Usually sharp we use for bone fragments. For example, there are fractures and a lot of fragments. I must to connect the fragments to each other or to remove these fragments. Yeah, I will use the sharp-ended instrument. If it is necessary to enlarge, for example, usually we use the tooth type of the retractors in superficial operations. For example, operation in the face. Of course, here I will try to take the blunt tooth instrument, yeah, to not damage the nerves. For example, you know, the nervus facialis gives here a lot of branches, yeah, to not damage. But so remember, gripping is great. Size is very small. That's why usually it works only in layer of skin fatty tissue, not deeper. Yeah, sharp one for usually bony structures, strong structures. Blunt one, it is from skin fatty tissue. Abdominal retractor of Mikulicz, yeah, I can open it. It has the screw mechanism, yeah. By the screw I can open, I can give it doesn't so good work. I can give the size which is necessary. And what can I say, guys? And this is the Gosset retractor. Screw is absent here, but again, it has the screw mechanism. Gosset usually we use for thoracic wounds. The Mikulicz one we use for abdominal wounds. Yeah. What the advantages of this instrument, guys? I apply it, and I don't need the assistant who will hold the hooks. Yeah. I make the economy of the workers. So I put it, I open it, how I need. Yeah. It has the lock mechanism. So I open and fix it. make fixation. And I work without assistant. In case of the hooks, of course, I need the assistant who will hold it. Yeah, sometimes it is not so easy. So remember, please, generally all this big group which I show for you, yeah, all these instruments we call retractors or enlargers. Yeah, part of them is hook, part of them just mechanical retractors, enlargers. Okay, let's continue, my friends. Several surgical instruments I want to show for you. It is different type of probes. Single probe, it is just a metallical wire, and by the way you can see the groove for measuring of the cavities. Tip is usually blunt. Let's say I can, for example, measure some cavities, fistulas, canals. I can see direction of any canals. For example, childs like to insert any foreign bodies in the nose, in the ear. Yeah, I can, for example, measure how deep is it. I can try to touch it to see its position for removing future, yeah? Let's say it gives for me the possibility to measure the cavities, to see direction of the cavities. Let's say it is simple probe. Yeah, it can be big, it can be small. The next probe is a little bit unique. We call it groove probe. Yeah, you can see that in the body there are the groove, yeah, deep groove. And the using of this instrument is absolutely another. Hold your hands like this. Imagine that this is 2 layers of the body which I want to cut. You remember I say you before that I must make this incision layer by layer. This is instrument specially for this purpose. Look guys, I cut the upper layer. I insert this instrument between my 2 layers, yeah, or just penetrate it, upper layer. Insert it, then I take the scalpel. In direction sharp side, look to upwards. I started to cut upper layer, yeah, without damaging of the lower layer. As I remember, please, it is very useful. I don't imagine any operation without this instrument, yeah. It gives the possibility to cut structures without damaging. It's shield, yeah, it's protection. It's protection for deep structures. Let's say, remember, please, groove probe, we will use it widely and in our operations also. Remember, please. Let's continue. The spatula, I think you know, yeah? The spatula, it is simple instrument, especially it used for lore practice, yeah? To make the investigation of oral cavity, yeah? What can I do? I can, for example, press the tongue, open the pharynx, yeah? Or push the structures. Usually it can be metallic, many times using, or it can be, for example, wood or plastic. Plastic or wood we use only single time. Yeah, this can be sterilized and used forever. Yeah, it's a useful instrument. By the way, sometimes we use it and in cavities. Also to push something, to lift something. Yeah, it is a useful instrument. It's a spatula. Remember, please. Different types of dressing forceps. Dressing forceps, name is show, guys. It's not for your body. It is for the dress, yeah? Before any operation, I must separate it part of field, yeah? I make the separation by sterile some material, yeah? I put sterile material, I will show it in operation, yeah? Usually we use 4 materials. 2 we put horizontally, 2 we put vertically, and in the angles, we connect it horizontal and vertical sheets to each other. We do it by this instrument. Exactly this one, it is the Bockhausen dressing forceps. Yeah, it is very strong instrument. Yeah, we can easily touch it to any material and it will give strong gripping. Yeah, but I remember, please, this is not for human body, it is only for the material. Bockhausen dressing forceps. Let's continue. Also useful instrument, we call it Kornzank, the German word, Kornzank. Kornzank, guys, it is mainly instrument of the nurse. It's not the instrument for the surgeon, but sometimes, for example, I use it. I will tell you in which case. What is the purpose of it? By this instrument, you can take any sterile material or sterile instrument from beaks, for example, from beaks and to put in the table. Let's say nurse try to take the instruments not by the hands, even it is in the sterile gloves, yeah, but he or she try to take it by this instrument, which we call cornsack. Sometimes cornsack we can use to form the tunnels inside of the human tissue. For example, there are the disease which we call cryptorchism. Then descending of testes doesn't perform normally. Yeah? By this instrument we can try to form the tunnel, the space between the tissues, and to provide the testes finally to the scrotum. Yeah? It's also useful. Why? Because it's long, it's big, and I can longly insert it inside of the tissues and open it. But generally, remember please, it is constructed. What is happened here? Sit down if you feel you better. But generally it is constructed for holding of surgical instruments, not for another purpose. Okay, now let's quickly come to the group number 4, special surgical instruments. And I want to start my explanation from these three. These three instruments together we call tracheotomic. Dear, if you feel you bad, take the chair and sit down. Okay, these three instruments we call tracheotomic collection. Why collection? Because these three instruments together we use during the tracheotomy. Now imagine that I perform the tracheotomy. What I need? Of course, first of all, scalpel. But I will need two types of the scalpels, and belly scalpel and sharp-pointed scalpel. First of all, by belly scalpel, I will cut the skin, yeah? By the way, my incision can be perpendicular and it can be horizontal and vertical. Both incisions we can use. After I will teach you, yeah? We have different type of tracheostomy. And now my purpose, it's not to teach you how to make this operation. I just want to show for you surgical instrument. Now look, I cut the skin, fatty tissue, the fascias of the neck, and finally, I see the trachea. You know, my friends, trachea has unique structure, yeah? From in front and sides, it is cartilage. Yeah, it has semi-cartilage structure, yeah? From behind, it is the membrane, connective tissue membrane, which is attached to the anterior surface of esophagus. You remember? Between them, there are the narrow connective tissues. And you know what is problem for us? I think, especially the females who work in kitchen with the meat, you know, yeah, that cartilage is not so easy to be cut. It's very slidable structure. If I will try just to cut tracheal cartilage by this instrument, which kind of complications I will get? I will kill the person, guys, because from both sides of trachea I have the common carotid vessels with internal jugular vein and nervus vagus. Instrument with more of this, you know that the trachea has its own movement. Yeah, now I speak and you can see how my trachea is moved. And sometimes you will do this operation without anesthesia in some emergency cases. Let's say, my friends, if I will try to cut just tracheal cartilage, in 90% of cases it will give a mortal complication. Let's say, before cutting of trachea, I must fix it. Let's say this sharp hook, it is constructed for one purpose. I apply it in the laryngeal cartilages. For example, the cricoid cartilage, yeah? Or thyroid, it's not good, cricoid cartilage. Or first tracheal cartilage. And strongly fix the trachea from any movement.
So only one is?
This one is great. If you will take, for example, the big one will be not so easy to apply in the tracheal cartilage because it's small. This one has sharp single hook, yeah, and it is great for fixation. Exactly this instrument, it is created only for fixation of trachea.
Only one direction, sir?
Yes, simply to upwards. Yeah, if you will fix it to upwards, it will lose its movement. It cannot be moved.
How do you know where exactly to start your
Great question. My dear friends, if it is emergency case, of course you don't have time to make any investigation. If it is the planned operation, before you make the X-ray and everything else, yeah, you know. If no, my friends, there are the usual places of this operation. And you must make it in the usual place. I will teach you. There are 3 places. But Ali can say, but if I will open trachea up to place of
The upper
closure, for example, beers, it can be possible. But nobody will tell you that your work is not effective because you do what is possible in exact situation. Unfortunately, Ali, till now we have mortal problems, and they not connected only with our problematical work. No, sometimes we cannot decide the problem. Yeah, till now it's let's say if abstraction will be below the place of your incision, touch wood, it will give you mortal complication. But my friends, what is good for us? If you study anatomy, you know that the first narrow place is located in the region of the vocal cords. Vocal cords, it is the larynx. It is not the trachea. That's why usually in cases of foreign bodies, which is very widespread for the child, childs try to put any toys in oral cavity, and during the breathing, it's go to our respiratory system, and it is inclinated in rima glottis, in vocal cords. It is first narrow place. That's why it doesn't matter where you will open trachea, it will be below the place of obstruction. Because rima glottis, it is the larynx, it is not the filter. But if it will descend into downwards, of course your situation will be hard. Much more hard will be situation of your patient. You understand me? But guys, do what is possible. What is impossible, you cannot do. Okay, I make the fixation. What after? After I change my scalpel and take a sharp pointed scalpel instead of belly scalpel, and what I do, guys, I put my finger approximately 1 centimeter far from the tip of this instrument. After this, I penetrated the cartilage. Why this 1 centimeter? To not penetrate the posterior wall. If I will penetrate, I will make the fistula between trachea and between esophagus. What after, guys? I take the second instrument without removing of my scalpel. I little change it, turn it to the left side. I insert the margins of this instrument enlarged. We call it retractor of Trousseau, French surgeon, very famous. Trousseau retractor. I put the Trousseau retractor, I enlarge the aperture of trachea, and now we come to the last instrument, which we call tracheotomic tube. By the way, guys, look here please. Tube has 3 main parts. It is the shield, it is the inner tube, and it is the outer tube. Between inner and outer tube, there are the lock mechanisms. I can close it, inner tube will be fixed inside of outer, or I can open and remove. Why it's necessary? My friends, sometimes I apply this instrument during long time, sometimes forever. And for cleaning, to not remove all the instrument, I will remove all the inner tube, will wash it, and because sleeve, will close it, and it can make the constriction. Dear, what has happened with you? Sit down, sit down. Sit.